Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. It's about 5 to 5. It is October 14th, Monday, about 56 degrees. The sun isn't on my batteries anymore, so they're not fully charged. Let me just quickly show you what I've been up to. So, I think I showed you guys that this shelf was installed. And I've put a couple of things up here. Of course, now it's too dark to see anything. There you go. You could see that's Christmas lights, and that's a clock. My time clock that actually punches cards. And there's a little one of those highway flashlights up there. On this side, I got the shelf up, and that contains those fireman's flashlights that were right here. So that was the first thing. So that was today's big accomplishments. Yesterday, went up to Saratoga Springs, Lake Luzerne, New York. Visit old college buddy, and we went to just outside of Saratoga is Ulysses Grant's Cottage. Ulysses Grant was a obvious Civil War general, and he was president of the United States a couple of times. And what he's known for, obviously the Civil War primarily. Secondly, President of the United States, he managed to win the presidency because of his efforts with the Civil War. He was on the Union side, obviously. And then he got robbed. He hooked up with a partner, and they had a stock brokerage business, and the guy robbed him. So he was stone cold broke at the end of his life. So he actually, a buddy of his, he had throat cancer at the end of his life, and it's eventually what killed him. So a buddy of his set him up with this cottage off this hotel up near Saratoga, New York. And he was living in New York City, and he was just roasting in New York City. It was late in the summer, August, I believe, and it was just hot as hell in New York City. On his way up from New York City to Saratoga, he took a train the whole way, and in a bunch of places they registered temperatures as high as 115 degrees. So he was thrilled to get up there into the Adirondacks where it was nice and cool. And he stayed at this cottage where he he finished his memoirs. He wrote the last 50 pages of his memoirs. And he hooked up with, believe it or not, Mark Twain. Talk about the names from that period of time. Mark Twain had just opened up a publishing company, and he published Grant's memoirs. And Grant's wife basically walked away with more than $250,000 from that. You got to figure $250,000 is worth like 25 times now as what it was then. We're talking, I don't know, the late 1800s. So when you go 25 times $250,000, well, every 4 times is $1 million. So you're looking at about $6 million bucks, today's money. And for a widow, especially there wasn't a lot to be owned back then. And I guess he still had his house or his apartment or his whatever property he owned in New York City still. So she owned that. But it was just interesting. He until a few days before his death, the cottage was right outside a hotel, and people would go by and photograph him and wish him well. He really couldn't speak. Once again, the whole throat throat cancer thing. But there were a lot of pictures of him, and there was a picture taken of him sitting right at the corner on this huge deck that surrounded the cottage, and it was just so strange to be standing right there. They brought the chair in, and they don't let you sit on the chair, right? It's considered an artifact, so they don't want anybody's butt on it. But it was kind of interesting to just kind of be there where Grant spent his final time. I mean, they did have the chair inside, and once again, the cottage is exactly the same as it was, in exactly the same location, and there's this really cool scenic overlook right there. So if anybody's around the Saratoga, New York area, if you're ever curious, you could Google Grant's Cottage, and it's interesting. The hotel that was right next to Grant Cottage burned down, and on that property, Liberty Mutual, the insurance company Liberty Mutual, if you go to the late 1800s, before the change of century, there was a lot of trouble with tuberculosis, and the Adirondacks was considered a good place to go if you had tuberculosis. So Liberty Mutual actually built a sanitarium there for tuberculosis. Their people who worked for them who had tuberculosis. And that's one of the reasons why Grant went up there with the throat culture. There was a doctor that from the hotel that would also treat him at the same time. So, you know, that area was really pretty cool. Eventually, though, the hotel burned down. The sanitarium that Liberty Mutual was no longer, and then they built a prison up there. Part of the sanitarium still stands, which is part of the prison. So as you go up to Grant Cottage, you actually have to go through a prison roadblock where they, number people in the car, and, depending on how suspicious you look, they pop your trunk on the way in and then pop it again on the way out. If you don't look too suspicious and all, they kind of let you skate. I must not look suspicious because they let me skate right in. So anyway, that was yesterday, and today I kind of fooled around with these things. I had a lot of errands to run this morning. I had a gift card for a bunch of gasoline, $25 worth of gasoline, and they don't have any golf stations right near me, so I had to cross the river to go to a golf station. While I was there, I swung by a friend's house and shot the bull with him for a while, and you know how time passes. I also picked up, it seems that Harbor Freight only has 4 of those brackets at a time. I mean, it's like, what's with that? Why only 4 at a time? So it's like each time I go there, I buy enough to do another shelf. I did buy the wood for the shelf, the pine, so I have pine for one more shelf, and so forth. And I've been talking so much about Grant and shooting the bull that I'm really not shooting the video that I want to. I try to keep these relatively short, so I got to make another one to tell you guys what I actually do want to tell you. So, see you guys in a minute. By the way, live, love, have a great time, tires down, handlebars up. Thanks for watching, subscribing, and commenting. And once again, if you get a moment, go to Google Grant's Cottage. It's kind of cool up there. Thanks.